Welcome to The Longest Turn. This is episode 73, CabinCon 2024. My name is Tyler.
Hello, this is Kevin.
This is Tyson.
In this episode, we're going to talk about the games that we're playing at CabinCon.
A lot of good games.
A lot of games.
I've been waiting for this weekend for weeks.
Yep, agreed.
Highly anticipated for all of us, I think.
Because I think we all agree playing games is better than working.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And we've all been working a lot lately, so
Yes.
it's nice to have a weekend of just games.
You know what I've been excited about with this CabinCon in particular? That we added 2 new people this year to our CabinCon. We usually keep it down to 6-ish people, and we have 8 people with us at CabinCon this year, and I love that.
Yeah,
Yep, Leo and Glenn. It's been great so far.
It's been awesome.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to recap each day, and we'll just talk about the games that we've been playing today. And then tomorrow we'll record what we've been playing tomorrow.
And Sunday we'll do it again.
You said the end of the night. I don't know that necessarily.
That is
means
true. I
it's the
think
end
we
of
got
the-
a few more fillers coming.
Yeah, I don't
this.
think this will be the end of the night.
No.
It's late,
I want to
but
keep
it was
playing.
a good breaking point.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the first night, so not super tired yet. So let's not go to bed.
Yeah, right.
Let's jump into what we've been playing.
So, Tyson, you got here with Glenn a little earlier than everybody else.
Well, I think that this year we got a more local location where it was closer to a lot of things.
Thank goodness we did.
Oh, absolutely. And we decided to go up early-ish, but our check-in time for everybody wasn't necessarily early. However, there was a big snowstorm. And
huge snowstorm.
like all the news outlets, everybody was saying essentially, hey,
Snowpocalypse.
stay inside, don't go out anywhere, you're going to die.
Right.
So Glenn left first, and I think he left at like 8 or 9 in the morning. Our check-in time was at 1.
And it's normally like a 40-minute drive.
But to be fair, he's got a 2-wheel drive vehicle, and it was like a small sedan. He wanted to get ahead of the storm, so he parked in the driveway and hung out until he could get into the house. But he was the first one here, and then I showed up after him, and I was the second one.
I wonder if he shoveled while he was here, because the driveway was pretty clear when we got here.
It was clear.
Yeah,
I didn't even
considered
notice that. We should ask him.
We should ask him.
And then say, hey, thanks, Glenn.
I'm just glad we weren't driving up to 10 or 11,000 feet in this snowstorm, because I'm
yes.
not sure half of us would have made it.
I don't think we would have made it. Like last year, we had that sketchy drive pathway up to the house, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no way we could have made it up there.
We've decreased in elevation almost every single year.
So let's recap here. Like year 1, we were in fair play.
At 13,000 feet.
Everybody had headaches. Tyler had Mark had to bring oxygen for Tyler.
Yeah,
it was
I
that
thought I was
bad.
going to die.
Yeah. We've learned a little bit in the past four cabin cons.
We went down a fair amount because last year we were at like 11,000 feet, 10,000 maybe, somewhere in that
Yeah,
range.
but
it was Idaho Springs.
Winter Park.
Winter Park
was the second one.
That was the second one. Was Winter Park.
We were up a little higher too. Then
Yeah, that was like 12,000 feet.
Idaho
I think.
Springs or Winter Park.
I think Winter Park
Winter
is a little
Park.
higher.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Even though we were up above Idaho Springs.
Yeah.
But still, we're going up I-70 to get there, which nobody wants to do that in a snowstorm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been terrible because I think this was the worst snowy drive weather that we've had for any cabin con. But
Yeah. At any rate, we made it, right?
and we've lowered elevation. Otherwise, we would have been.
We're
in trouble.
about 6,000 feet, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Significantly lower than where we were last year.
But yeah.
So what did you play?
The whole point of that is Glenn and I were here first, and so he and I sat down to a 2-player game. We played Battlecrest. I've talked about Battlecrest already. It's a game published by Button Shy Games. It's a 2-player skirmish game where there are 6 cards played on the table, and they form a grid, essentially. They're strategically placed so that there are a lot of different spaces, and you're using only cards to go around this grid and battle each other. Glenn chose the character Mutiny, who is a ranged character and has a kind of a minion that follows around, a little robot that kind of can trip up his enemy and also kind of take the attention away from him. I chose a character, Forge, which was the first time I'd seen this character played, that is kind of more your tank character and has an item like a giant shield that will block a major attack, and then also you can use it after it's been blocked. It's kind of like breaks. You flip the card over, and it can be used as a weapon one time, and then it permanently breaks and is out of the game. So played this game really, as I said the first time, I played it with my son, so it was more of just a learning experience, and my son is 7 years old, and so he hadn't played as strategically or tactically as I would have played with another player. And I played with Glenn, and he just wiped me out. Like he ended up...
He did significantly better than the 7-year-old.
Exactly. Significantly better than the 7-year-old, which I don't know what that says about my skill level, but Glenn is at least better than a 7-year-old. I may be slightly better than a 7-year-old, but I had a lot of fun. It was a good way to open it. I don't get a lot of 2-player games played, so I was excited to play a 2-player game when I first arrived.
Awesome. Cool. So we arrived around 1 o'clock. Then we took a quick trip to Whataburger.
We did,
right? And I have only been to Whataburger one time, and that was in Dallas. And then this time that we went, so second time going.
I'd been to one in San Angelo 2006-ish, so It's been a while for me.
Yeah. Got a patty melt. It was delicious.
It was. Mine was amazing.
Yeah, so it was good. So we did that, and then we came back, and I got in a game of Hansa Teutonica, the game with the amazing box art. And this is actually the big box version that has all the expansions. We did one of the expansion maps, which was fun. Played with Glenn, Greg, and Leo.
Played in that one.
And Leo played in that one. So it was a lot of fun. This is one of my favorite games. You're building routes. You're connecting these offices. You're getting influence in these offices to get points throughout the game. It's a race to 20 points, and whoever gets to 20 points first triggers the end of the game. That's one of the end game conditions. You're filling up offices. That's a way the game can end as well if you fill up 10 offices. And then you have these dinner plates that you're getting bonuses with. It's a lot of fun. I played horribly this game. I don't know why, but it was still a ton of fun.
We talked about that.
Glenn ended up winning this one too, actually.
Yeah, he's on a roll.
He is on a roll. Yeah, so this was just a ton of fun. I haven't played it for a while, but playing it made me want to play it again, right? It was fun.
You had to teach, right?
I did.
For this one.
Yep.
Was Greg the only one who hadn't played?
Greg was the only one who hadn't played.
So everybody
Glenn had played one time before.
And Leo loves the game.
Leo loves
maybe
it.
needed a refresher.
Yeah, so he needed a little bit of a refresher. But he had played 2 or 3 times before, so it came back really quick for him.
I think we did better this year at choosing games that more people are generally familiar at so that we can stay out of teaching as many games and doing more refresher style experiences.
That was kind of the goal, I think.
I'm not sure how well we did. We'll see, but
that's what we had talked about, and I don't want to just spend the whole weekend teaching games.
I don't either,
if at all possible.
Yeah.
It's a lot more fun just to kind of jump in and play. Because I brought Anachrony, and it's
got to be the three of us.
Yeah, if I have to teach Anachrony, that's going to be tough, right?
Yeah.
So, that's the goal. Anyway, but it was a fairly quick teach for Hansa Teutonica. It's a middleweight game.
I will challenge that.
I was going to say
in a second, but
yeah,
I want to wait till you're done talking about Hansa.
Yeah, I'm done talking about Hansa. Okay, fantastic game. I absolutely love it.
So who picked Hansa to play?
I picked it.
So Kevin picked that. Mark picked Raw, and I was happy to play either one. It turned out that it was Mark, Tyson, and I that ended up playing Raw. Ben was reading some rules, get caught up on a game. And so the three of us played Raw, and we almost finished our game by the time that Hansa Teutonica rules were done. They were about 3 turns or 4 turns maybe into the game.
And we did a rules refresher ourselves.
We did.
Raw is pretty easy
but
to
Raw
teach,
is pretty...
It's straightforward.
Especially when you have the 25th century version, just how the iconography is laid out so well. The player board is just perfectly done.
Yep,
and explains everything.
There's only a couple things that aren't explained like readily right in front of your face based off of that player board. And so there was a little bit of looking that up. But yeah, a lot of that came down to really well done iconography in this new version.
Yeah. And just like every other Raw play that we've had, there are some exciting moments. There's moments where we're all laughing and just having a good time, and it was a blast. I thought it was a great time.
Yeah, I was a little annoyed by the fact that I had worked so hard to get flood tiles. I had worked on my Nile tiles, and Tyler had stacked up. He had like 8 Nile tiles, and then he had collected all the flood tiles. I finally got flood tiles.
You got one.
And then I got stuck with a hand where I had to discard 2 of my tiles, and then had to start with flood ones. Yes.
Yeah, you get rid of the flood ones first. Yeah.
Yep.
That's brutal.
And so we lost those. Yeah, I think I had 7 Nile tiles at the end of the first round with a flood.
Yeah.
And I scored my Nile tiles every round. So that was helpful, but it was a blast.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. I really enjoy Raw at 5 players, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it is still really good at 3 players. And it just
exactly
creates
what I was
different situations. And
It scales well because that's how I play the majority of my games of Raw is 3 players.
Yeah.
And it's great. Yeah.
And there was a time in the first epoch or era or whatever that I was the only one that was in, and I pushed my luck and I got all the way to the end. And then in the last round, Mark and I had that opportunity. We both had one bid left, and Tyson was out, and I drew on the first tile a raw tile, and we got eliminated for the third. We didn't get to use all of our tiles, but
press your luck is fun in that game.
I think that's one of the good things, one of the better displays of press your luck in Raw compared to other press your luck games in some ways is that because it's isolated, like the press your luck in like Quacks or something, usually everybody is like focusing on their own draws and aren't paying attention. But in Raw, you're focused on one player drawing tiles at the end if the press your luck element is present, right?
Yeah.
And you're, as a competitor, equally invested in them pressing their luck because you're like, nah, just pull one more because I want that raw tile to pop out and stop you. And so it's fun to see that kind of shared investment in it for opposite reasons.
Yeah, totally. That's a good point. So we had a good time playing Raw. We had a little bit extra time while you guys finished Hansa, and so we got out Rebel Princess from Bezier Games. And this is something I just bought recently and got just in time for Cabin Con. It's basically, it is to hearts what Bezier's silver is to golf. If you've ever played golf and hearts, those card games, Bezier kind of tweaked golf by giving powers to each card. And in hearts, they amped it up a little bit there too. You have a princess that you play with who has an ability that you get to use once per round. The game's played over 5 rounds, and you're trying not to score points. There's always the option of being the rebel of the ball or something, where you basically shoot the moon. You have to get all the princes and the frog prince, which is in a different suit, the pet suit. So we had some interesting things going on there. It was really fun. I thought it was a blast.
I loved it. This was my first experience with it, and it was a lot of fun. One thing that seemed a little bit unfair, weighted poorly, maybe poor shuffling on somebody's part, was Ben got the Frog Prince at the start of every round. Of the 5 rounds, he got the Frog Prince every single time.
Once he passed to me,
and the rest, he passed the Frog Prince to me. You have to each round, at the start of the round, pass 1 or maybe more cards, depending on what's going on in the round kind of objective. And he ended up passing me the Frog Prince every time. And it's a high value card, and it has 5 negative points on it. Or I guess it's 5 points, because you don't want points in this game at all. And so you have to figure out what to do. And I got stuck with it. Most of the time, I was able to figure out what to do with it.
You gave it to Mark on the very first trick,
which was
in the first round.
Well, because the card that Ben gave me was the 8, which is the Frog Prince is an 8 value, and the card that I gave Mark was a 9, and they're both of the same suit. And so I had to play, because I only had 1 green value suit, the pet value, and I put it down, which was the frog, and I was like, I just got stuck with this because Ben just gave it to me. And then the only card of the suit that Mark had was the green 9 that I'd given him. So it just worked out perfectly, and it was just kind of this exciting moment. I thought it was really fun.
I don't think anybody was actually the rebel of the ball.
Well,
there were many attempts to shoot the moon, but
Mark had 14 once, and I had 13.
Well, that's tough to do in hearts.
It is.
It's that doesn't happen very often.
One more cool thing about this game, another tweak, is that each round there's a different round card in play that has a different effect. So like one of them was the second highest card in every trick of this lead suit will win the trick. Another one was like you chose half of your cards, and then after you put those down and after you played through your other half, then you got your second half to play then. Or there was another one where you passed... Very similar, where you passed half of your cards after you played your first half to the person to the right. And that created some...
Oh, geez. That sounds like chaos, right?
Chaos.
You think you have a plan with both of those options, right? I have 5 cards. I'm going to put these 5 here and do something with it, and then take these 5s later and hope that I can do what with it. But depending on how other people play, it just made it crazy.
Yeah. I played a ton of Hearts growing up, and I've had my eye on this game for a while. So when I saw that you got it, I'm like, yeah, you better bring it to Catacombs. I didn't get in the game, but it's a filler. But it's a filler, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna play again.
There's so much variability depending on which round cards you have and which princess cards people have. It plays up to 6 players. This is an awesome trick-taking game.
And it's quick, right? Like how long did it take you guys to play, even with the rules?
I'd say about half hour, 35, 40 minutes.
Yeah, maybe
45.
Closer to 40, 45 minutes, I think.
Yeah, I love trick takers.
But part of that was just the explanation.
I think so.
A couple minutes. And
yeah,
but I mean, Bezier has been doing tons of trick takers this year.
Yeah, I love that. Like Diamonds is one of our favorites at my house, right? And that's just a simple trick taker. Sounds like this one has a little bit more meat to it and does a few more things, but I think this would be a hit with my family. So I'm sure I'll be picking this one up.
And we definitely need to play it again this weekend.
Nice.
So awesome. That is Rebel Princess.
Nice.
So then the next, we had 2 tables going next. One of the tables, none of us were at that table, and they played a game called Undergrove. I hadn't seen really anything about this game.
Greg's pick was Undergrove, and I picked a different game we'll talk about in a second.
Yeah, this game looked beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
Right? So Ben, we've talked about this before. Ben likes pretty games, and he got a pretty game, right? So I don't know much about it. Looked like they were having a good time, but there was wooden tiles that were out on the table. It looked really interesting,
had these
right?
Easels.
Yeah, right.
I think those might have been upgraded.
Well, I think all
pieces.
of their production was the deluxe version, and they got all the deluxe pieces.
It looked beautiful,
the wooden tiles, but no, it was a head turner. Like to look at it, and made me very curious about the game. But I
think one of the comments I heard was that resources are tight, and you're trying to. It's a struggle to figure out how to spend your resources or get the ones that you need. But I think
which isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? It's a efficiency puzzle. It sounds like it could be, but
I think Greg won, right?
I believe that's what I heard.
Yeah. It was kind of he was up in first and everybody else was way behind, battling for second.
Yeah.
All right.
But we got in a game of Tiletum, which we've talked about Tiletum quite a few times, right?
We have.
One of our favorite games. Made your what was it?
It was in my top 5.
It was in your it was way up
4,
there.
I don't know.
After this play, is it still ranked properly for you, Tyler?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I loved it.
It's a good game, right? It's combos like crazy, right? This was your first time playing.
Well, yeah,
Tyson,
and
right?
it's Simone Luciani and Daniel Tassini, and I can feel Simone Luciani's touch in here with all the combos, right? And I love combo-y games, and there was so much of that. It was my first time playing this game, and seeing it come together. Like the first part of it, like the first round or two, just kind of clicked for me, and I was like, okay, I think I can see what's going on here. And I had a lot of fun figuring out the puzzles and how to make the systems work for me. I really like in the game that you have each round a set goal, right? Like think Terra Mystica, think they're like the milestones in Terraforming Mars, and a lot of other games that have those kind of objectives, right? And you're trying to achieve them, and you're going through and see what's going on with those objectives. But what I really liked was that they're paired with a variable objective and a variable location on the map where you're doing something, right? And you guys have already talked about Tiletum a lot. Obviously, we just talked about it in our top 50, so I won't go into depth. But what I loved about that was seeing where I could go and focusing on the now. There's a lot of potential future planning you can do in this game, but I felt like, let me just use what I have available to me and not worry too much about what's coming down the road and respond to it kind of tactically rather than...
Yeah, you kind of have to, right? Because the die rolls are going to be different every round.
Right.
Yeah.
Like when you start, right? So you don't know how many sixes are going to be rolled. You can plan a little bit because that wheel turns and you know how many actions you're going to have. You're going to know how many resources you're going to get when you take that action, but you don't know what resources they're going to be, right? So you could be going to build a cathedral and stone just doesn't come out, right? It's just not there. Yeah. So you have to be tactical. You have to have some kind of long-term planning because you see what you're going to score points for. But that whole balance is interesting.
There were a couple times where I had stuff in my storehouse that I could have used at the end of my turn, but I didn't see benefit to it, so I kind of held on to some of those things until my next turn just to see how things would play out differently. So there was a couple times where I chose not to do all the combos that I could have done in that turn.
There were a couple times for me.
And there was... It was an interesting decision. Like, I could do this right now and it could pay off, but then I'm also kind of showing my hand. Like, if I put the crest out that lets me move an architect anywhere, I do that, but then it's the end of my turn and now it shows everybody where I'm going with my architect.
And is somebody going to sneak in and build a column and take that spot from me?
But
I had that same thought a few times. Yeah.
I did too, but that brings up an interesting point about a conversation that we even had at the table while we were playing this game, is that there's not a whole lot of looking at other people's boards and seeing what they're doing. There is some direct impact that can occur by you took the thing I wanted, or you went to the location I wanted.
You build a house where I wanted to go, that type of thing.
And there is some of that, but I felt it was kind of minimal in some ways.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't worried about that. At first, I was like, I don't want to necessarily show my hand, but then I was like, no, I want to maximize my benefits and then see what happens later. So I didn't save a ton of my stuff, and I just used it most of the time. But there were a couple of instances where it was like, okay, I don't see the maximum potential by using it right now. I'm going to hold off, which I agree, Tyler. That is something that you don't often see in a combo game. Let me stop doing my combo prematurely.
Yeah, I was reminded, it's been a long time since I played this. I don't remember when we first played it, maybe 2 years ago, something like that.
2 or 3, yeah.
2 or 3, it's been a while, and that's the last time I had played it. I think this game is beautifully produced, right? It's a board and dice game. I love the color scheme with one minor gripe, right? I think it's almost a throwback to older Euros in my mind.
Except for maybe the dice colors.
Yeah.
The dice colors I love the dice colors, but the wool and the what's the other one? The
anvil.
The anvils are really close in color. And I kept on. I caught myself getting the wrong resources a few times in the game, and it's like they could have made those a little bit more distinct.
Even the brick or the stone can be like a little bit like I before I grab it, I have to double check is that the one I'm wanting, because they're hues of the same gradient kind of a thing, and it I don't know.
Yeah, and another thing, just for me, this is multiplayer solitaire. I think it really kind of, for some reason, for me, it really is emphasized in this game. Like, there's a little bit of downtime, because if you're playing 4, some turns can be a little bit longer, and you're comboing like crazy, and other people are comboing like crazy, and you're not really invested necessarily in their turn and what they're doing. It's not a big impact to you and what you're doing, right? So I did notice that. That's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
But that's something to be aware of for this one.
There's can be a little bit of interaction.
There can be, absolutely.
It doesn't affect how I feel about this game. And the thing I love the most is the dice drafting.
Yep.
And taking a color die that gives me a select number of resources, and then the inverse of that, of what the number would be on the other side of the die, I get that many action points for the action arc or little sector that I took the die from. That is by far my favorite part. And obviously, comboing stuff and figuring out how to do this amazing turn is so much fun. But the dice drafting is just is my favorite part of this game.
Yeah,
Totally agree.
It's really well done. And like we mentioned, how you turn that wheel just affects the number of actions you're going to have, the number of resources you're going to have for that action. And that's cool. That's
the more
really
you
well
get
done.
those types of wheel turning things going on in games, the more that's becoming one of my favorite type of mechanisms, regardless of who the designer is, right?
Like Praga.
Like Praga
right?
has that.
Yes.
I love Suhi game, right?
Yeah.
You got,
Coloma
you
has
got like
that.
two master of
Love
wheels.
that.
You got Luciani and
Suhi.
yeah.
Yep.
And maybe they should give us like the coolest wheel game ever at some point.
They should collaborate. Yeah, absolutely.
They've been collaborating with other people. They just need to collaborate with each other now.
They
Yeah.
need to get together. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's
It was
make
fun.
that happen.
Yeah. Are you guys listening?
Yeah, you pull your strings you got there, Tyler.
Yeah, right.
All right, we'll send emails.
Let's do it. Let's do
Okay.
it. Let's do it.
Awesome. So Tiletum, that was fantastic.
Yep.
We got one more game in before we started recording. It was an 8-player game.
Everybody played. Yeah.
Everybody played.
Yep, which is
Ben
cool.
was super excited about this.
Yep.
There's some little bit of a gray area there of whether or not that counted as his pick for the next game to be
Yeah, we're not
played.
sure because he was up next in the selection.
Along with you.
Yeah.
But he picked Veiled Fate from IV Studios. He had just gotten it in the mail. He ordered it after we did our barbecue planning session. He was all excited about it when it showed up in time for Cabin Con. And I don't know. What did you guys think of Veiled Fate? Or should we summarize a little bit of how it plays?
Yes.
Yeah,
we talked about it. Yeah.
we can do it real quick. So it's a team game. It's a hidden team game, though.
It can be. It
least
is
the-
team.
at least how we played
played it was a team version of it.
Yeah, we played the team version. Everybody has a role, has a color and a role that they play. And there's a teammate around the table that has that same role, and you don't know who that is. So a big part of the game is trying to figure out who your teammate is. And you have a character, you're moving that character on the board, you're going on, I guess you call them quests or something.
Yeah.
And you move to a space, and then you have a hand of cards. There's fate cards, I think they're called. And then scorpion cards. So there's a feather on one, and then there's a scorpion on the other. And you put a card along with the character that you move, and it will contribute to that quest. Once all those spaces are filled up in that quest with characters, then you potentially there's another card that gets contributed around the table. You take those cards, shuffle them up, flip them over, and depending on if there's more feathers or more scorpions, you either get victory points that help you win. You can go back and lose victory points, or you can get banished into the abyss, right?
Yeah.
One of the interesting things about this game and how it plays is that there are 8 different colors in total on the board.
Yes.
And at least in our game, I'm not sure if this plays differently per player count or whatever, half of those colors were in play as assigned to somebody playing, right? You're manipulating the colors on the board, the figures on the board of various different colors, and you're trying to do so in a way that either doesn't reveal too much information to everybody, but maybe helps you figure out who your partner is, right?
Right.
And you're trying to manipulate the figures and go to different locations and do all of these things while keeping track of it. And in an 8-player game, there's a lot of information to keep track of.
There is.
is.
Yeah, and it's a race to get to 12. None of us got to 12. There's other ways that the game ends, but yeah, what do you do to not reveal who you are and try and throw up a red flag or throw up a diversion
funny.
here or there, you know?
Yeah, I was being accused right off the bat that I was red.
Right.
And Mark was being accused that he was yellow, and I was like, nope, yellow's Kevin. Kevin and I both figured out each other were yellow.
We looked at each other
We
early
did.
on.
There
We're
was-
like,
yep,
okay.
There was eye contact, and it was like, yep, we got it.
Yep.
And we came up a little short. There was a little chance added there at the end of the game, but
Yeah.
it was a fun experience. We all laughed and had a good time. It had some interesting decisions. You just take turns going around the table. You get 2 actions, and I had a lot of fun. I don't know that I would be dying to play this again, but the group that we played with was a lot of fun.
That's exactly what I was
Yeah.
going to say. At the end of the day, for me, the experience was a lot of fun, primarily because of who we were at the table playing with, right? And I think that if you have a good group that is good friends and can get like understand how to do table reads and things like that, and have
give each other a hard
jokes,
time and tease each other,
razz each other, absolutely, you're gonna have a lot of fun with this game because it sets up a situation where those kind of opportunities are present and possible.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm not sure that for me either that this was like a game that I'm 100% like all in. I want to play this again kind of experience, but I would happily play this again if the group wanted to play this. But to me, the big issue. So I had this weird experience, and I think I explained this a little bit to you guys. I had like this parabola kind of a experience with the game where it had a slow rise for me, and the first part of the game I felt like there wasn't a lot of control. I can do 2 actions, and then there are 14 other actions that happen before it comes back to me, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't feel like I have a lot of control in what's going on in the table and what to do. So it's all just this waiting around until I have enough information to be able to do something, and my partner recognizes who I am, and then do that. So like an 8-player game there's a lot going on. So it was kind of a slow start for me, and then when it got into it, we had those experiences that you were just describing, Tyler, of like you get to harass people and be playful and have a lot of fun, and there was a lot of like fun table talk that happened. So like the climax of the game for me happened when like it was that middle part where everybody was kind of just joking around and being like, oh, what color are you, let me see your card, that kind of thing. Like it was fun, but then it kind of overstayed its welcome for me a little bit in that it was a little longer than I wanted the experience to be.
And maybe the optimal player count is 6.
Maybe,
I don't know,
could
but
be. I
agree with that.
I feel the same way, that it kind of wore out its welcome a little bit towards the end. To me, it kind of felt like a party game, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, it's a game that you play and you can't take very seriously. I mean, there's some strategy and there's good decisions and there's deduction there, but you can't take this game seriously, right? Like if it's more of an experience type of thing and more of a party game in my mind.
It's in the title.
But which is good. It's not bad. It was good.
Veiled fate, right?
There's
Fate,
a lot of
there's a lot of
chance
chance in the game.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of times where you're flipping a coin and that coin decides
It's hitting
the
people
outcome.
in the head and stuff like that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Leo,
That's a beefy coin.
Leo flipped one and it hit Tyson in the head and about made a dent in the wall. But
Yeah.
I will say there were a couple people at the table that I had no idea what color they were because
Correct.
I just didn't see any
interaction in a way that like led me to be confident in who they were.
And maybe that was just because there was so much going on, and like it was blatantly obvious when Tyson and Ben jumped up 4 points by doing a couple of actions.
Yep.
That
They're blue.
yeah.
It was
So,
a good timing for
I
that
think
to
we
happen.
were a little more subtle.
I tried to be, right? I mean,
At a certain point, I was like, okay,
I'm all in
we
on
just
it,
need to
yeah.
get points.
but yeah, we were ahead most of the game.
We
right?
were.
So
We were.
I think we got kind of lucky.
and
on
we
a
still
few
had
turns.
a chance, even when
Yeah.
it came down to the last reveal. And it's got that same kind of mechanic all throughout the game, where in Unfathomable or
Battlestar Galactica.
where
Yeah.
everybody contributes a bunch of cards and you flip them over, and depending on how they turn out, that's determines the result. And
You don't know who contributed what.
right.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
we were still in it until the very end, and it went your guys' way. So Tyson and Ben won, and but it was a great experience, I thought.
Yeah, you had me contribute a card, and I'm like, I don't like this card but it was one of the cards that allowed you to draw 2 additional cards, right? So it was
Yeah.
completely up to chance.
But I knew if I would have picked Tyson or Ben or anybody else,
They would
at
have
the table,
sabotaged it.
They would have done something to sabotage yellow.
Here's the thing,
Absolutely.
though, is I had in my card only symbols that would have benefited you.
You were
at
very
that time,
smiley,
and I was
and I
like,
almost
yeah, come
wondered,
pick me.
are you-
Like, because
Oh, you only had-
because if you had picked me, I would have only been able to contribute something positive to you, and so I was trying to be like, yeah, pick me.
You
Go
were
ahead.
very smiley, and that makes sense now because it seemed a little overly like, yeah, pick me, but
That's funny.
to bluff. right?
No, exactly. I was
Yeah.
trying to make sure, because if you had picked me, it would have been bad for me,
Right.
and good for you guys. But no, which is interesting. There is that table play and kind of that bluffing element that is in it, and there's enough of that makes it fun. I think this is a good con game. This is a good
Yeah.
big group kind of sit down and just have a casual fun time with.
I did think it was funny. Somebody had the idea we should just shuffle up all the demigod cards and deal them out, and you may or may not have a teammate, and you just won't know. I think that would be kind of fun to try, but that would
This
be
is just like Skull.
Yeah, this sounds horrible.
changing the dynamic. But it'd be pretty fun to like find out that you're the only one and you still win.
Yeah.
Or
House rules, I love them.
yeah, let's do it. I'm gonna go get the rest of the guys.
Oh yeah, okay, well yeah.
So yeah, that was Veiled Fate from Ivy Studio.
Yeah, and that's the last game that we've played up to this point.
We're gonna go play some fillers until bedtime, till we crash.
Till we crash. Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's get some.
We'll get 6 or 7 in.
It's
You know.
midnight, basically, but yeah, 6 or 7, that'll do.
All right.
Let's do it. All right. It's day 2/3 of Cabin Con.
We missed a recording night last night.
We did, and if I remember right, we last time we did the same thing.
I think we did.
got so caught up in games the second day that we had every plan to record, but we didn't. But yeah, we're in day 3. Got some great games played yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
I had a little bit of a rough day. I'm just going to throw that out there.
It's some days
But I
are
still
like
had a
that.
great time.
Yes, yeah.
I enjoyed every play that I played yesterday. I don't think everybody at the tables that I played games with yesterday enjoyed what I played. But
You know, not every game can be a winner or the best game ever, right? So some of them are like that. That's that's fine.
Yeah.
You're enjoying a time around the table with friends.
Yes.
Which is awesome.
well,
And sharing in the pain.
Yeah.
yes, for sure.
We'll get to the one you're talking about soon.
I think there's more than one he's talking about.
Yeah, there's actually more than one. Yeah, for sure. We got in a game. It was actually late Friday night
After we recorded.
after we recorded a game of Pixies.
Yeah.
Which we've talked about this one recently on the podcast. Still awesome, still fun. Everybody was so tired in this game. We were not playing optimally at all. At least I know I wasn't playing optimally.
My favorite is I was the last to select in one round, and there was a 6 wild card that both Kevin and Tyler, you guys thought was going to be super pivotal to my strategy, but there was another card that was way better to my strategy,
Right.
and it was just being late at night, not really processing things. And
There was also
You were so confused.
a hand where 2 people passed up 9s that could have validated a 9 and scored
Yes.
up to 9 points.
One of those person
And
being
they-
me.
Yes, and skipped over it. So we all did really dumb things or tried to do game-breaking things that go against the rules,
Yeah.
but we retired.
Sleep deprivation at that point. Yeah.
Yeah.
but it made it
was still
a good
fun.
experience.
Yeah, it made for a memorable experience anyway. So that was good times.
But yeah, that was the last game of the night Friday for us, and then
Yep.
we moved into yesterday.
Yep, Saturday. So I got up a little bit earlier than some. Before we started playing the main games, got in a game of Autumn with Leo. We've talked about this one on the show before. It's from DeVere. They sent us a review copy. This is one of the simplest games you'll ever play, really. It's just a deck full of cards that has leaves on it. You place those leaves trying to get the biggest pattern together. There's a lot of tactics and blocking, and it's a lot of fun. Leo had never played it. You played over 3 rounds. You add up the score of each round, and whoever has the most points wins. And we had a great time with it. It's just a fun, simple game that pretty much anybody could play, right? So got a game of that in. Which
What
was a
else
lot of
did you
fun.
play with Leo?
Splitter. Played Splitter. We've talked about Splitter as well.
Love Splitter.
Yeah, Pantosaurus rolling right. You got this sheet that's split into 2. You're rolling 2 dice. You have to put values for each of the dice on one side or the other. You're trying to get combinations of 4s together to score, or 2s or 1s up to 6s. And there's multipliers where you can double, and hearts where you get the same number in each heart and you score those. And really, you're trying to not get yourself in a bad spot towards the end, and you're praying that you get the dice rolled that you need to get rolled.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of tension, and it's just fun. It's a great roll and write.
We recently finished
what I
one
was
on
gonna
BGA. And Tyson and I tied, and I was like, what the heck?
I know, it was ridiculous.
Tied?
Yes.
Is there no tiebreaker?
No.
I looked at
I mean,
the
maybe
score.
there is, but
I felt
maybe
so
we
good about mine.
met the next
The next
tiebreak.
level, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But I looked at the score when it had finished, because you were the last one, I think, to take your turn.
And I was down a couple points.
And I was like, I got this. We're good. We're fine. And then I came back and I was like, how is this even possible?
Yeah.
That's such a good game. And I love that it's on BGA now.
I forgot it was on BGA.
It's great.
Yeah.
And they have the sister version on BGA now too. The kind of
Is it
sibling game.
Nister or
Yeah,
Nister?
Nister.
Knister? No.
Oh, I didn't know about this one either.
No, what's the other one?
I don't know.
The one that we play with where you...
It's Nister.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, is
Just
that the
searched
one
for it and it
that
didn't
you just
come
sent
up.
the invite and it's kind of
but it's-
poker hand type things?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's the one we're
That's
talking
the one I'm talking about. Yeah.
about. Yeah, Nister.
Nister.
Yeah. That one's great.
This is flowing so well.
Partially due to the sleep deprivation.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
right.
Yeah.
No, Nister is a good game. It's a similar type of thing, a roll and write sheet where you have 5 or 6 rows, I think, and there's an X shape in
And
the
it's
main
a 5
board.
by 5 grid. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you're trying to fill in all of these, and they're basically doing 2 pair, 3 pair, full house, straight, etc.
Yeah.
You're trying to get your numbers to fall in that line. So you're placing the numbers on this grid in a way that you're hoping to match it up with those to maximize your potential points.
Yeah, I got a full house or whatever.
I'm not good at this one, I think. I need to play this one more. But
I've got a couple plays. It's just dumb, quick, fun,
Yeah.
like Splitter.
I
right?
didn't realize
Yep.
that it was scoring both rows and columns. So until
And a
I was
couple
about
diagonals.
halfway through. Yeah, the diagonals I knew.
Oh, okay,
But like
yeah.
the columns,
Those are double
I didn't.
points.
I didn't realize it was poker hands. I missed the basic. I was just putting numbers places. I could have read the rules in like 35 seconds.
I mean, it's
but
all on
I
the
didn't,
left-hand
but-
side there, too.
I know. I don't know what was going on. But now I understand. I'm excited to play more.
So while you were finishing your game of Splitter, Kevin, I played a game of Mind Up
Nice.
with Greg and Mark. And this is another simple card game. There's an open row of cards. They range in value from 1 to 60, and there are 5 different colors. So there's 12 cards in each color. They have different numbers going from 1 to 60, and you play it over a few rounds. You have scoring columns in front of you that are worth 1 to 5 points as multipliers. And so you randomize which column is which. So like in the first round, the first column was 5 points each. You lay out, in our game, there was 3 players, so you lay out 3 cards, and you have a hand of cards, and you place one, and you order them all ascending order. And that's the card that you take from the 3 cards that were available, right? So if you play the lowest card, you're going to get the lowest card that's available. You add it to your column scoring, and from left to right. So if it's a color that you've got before, your first card's going to go in the first column. So in the first round, that was worth 5 points. If I get green again, if that was a green card, all my green cards are going to be worth 5 points, and they're going to go in the first column. The first time that I need to take the next color, it's going to go in the next column, and that might be only worth 1 point, depending on how they're randomized. So it was a fun little kind of a bidding game. I don't know, a little card game. Mind Up. My copy is Pandasaurus, and it's also on Board Game Arena.
Oh, nice.
I've played it there before a few times, but it was fun to get it to the table. There are some modifying scoring cards that I want to play with and try to see if it takes it to a little bit to the next level, because it was a little too simple. So, but
Okay.
I still had a fun time playing. Glad I got it to the table. That was Mind Up.
Nice.
Yeah, I set out for both of those. I decided to sleep a little longer than either of you so that I could be a little bit more fresh in my upcoming games.
Probably a good idea. Yeah. We'll go with that.
Yeah,
I don't know that it helps.
your mind
necessarily.
wasn't up yet.
Yeah, I was actually there.
Boy.
You started playing Mind Up, and I was there in the kitchen. I just decided to watch you guys play a little bit, and then I started reading some rule books to try and refresh on some stuff.
Prepare
Yeah.
for some things. Yeah. I got to play Empires of the North, Imperial Settlers, Empire of the North. So this is designed by Ignacy Trevicek, Joanna Kidjanka. This is a Portal game. I enjoy a lot of the Portal games. We play. My favorite is 51st State. We'll talk about that maybe a little bit later. This one has a similar feel to 51st State and Imperial Settlers, more to Imperial Settlers, obviously. You're doing similar things, but it's different enough that I think it's worth playing, right? I enjoyed it a lot. Ben has it and he taught it. I picked up on it fairly quickly because a lot of the concepts are the same. You're raising things. Some of the differences are you're going out and you're sailing your ship. And you're sailing your ship to either conquer that ship, and you get that ship in front of you into your tableau, and you can use things for the rest of the day or the rest of the game as actions from that conquered ship. Or you can raise the ship, you can just burn it down, and you get immediate spoils. And that's how you're going to get a lot of your resources, which very similar to 51st State, Imperial Settlers. One of the big differences that I don't know if I'm a huge fan of is you have to do a harvest action. So you have all of these cards in front of you that are potential resources. You have to do a harvest action on one of those stacks in order to get those resources. You don't automatically get them at the beginning of the turn, which I love about 51st State and Imperial Settlers. You can carry over resources from round to round, though. So there's a little bit of a difference there. What was hard for me is my faction, because everybody has a specific faction deck, specializes in one thing, and mine was not harvesting at all. I looked through my whole deck and there was not a card that allowed me to harvest that I could put out in front of me. I could only take one action in the central board that would allow me to harvest. So I was like struggling to get resources, which was hard. What it was pushing me towards is going to the sale and pillage and get resources that way. So every faction is going to be a little bit different in how they do things and how you're pushed to do your strategy. Ben was over there. He was like resources like crazy. He was getting victory points like crazy. We thought he was going to run away with it, but it ended up that Greg won. And then I was able to catch up in other ways. But I don't know. I like it. It doesn't replace 51st State or Imperial Settlers for me, though.
It sounds like the asymmetry is a little bit more prominent in this than 51st State, where 51st State exists and it's kind of a nudge, but this is more of a path that you're going down. Yeah,
and 51st State, everybody's drafting out of the same card pool, right? This one, you have your own deck. You're drawing cards. So like the lookout phase, you're drawing 5 cards from your personal deck, right? So, which is cool. I like it. But I don't think I like it more than the way 51st State does it.
Which game is more complicated?
It's going to be this one for sure.
Is it?
If you're comparing to 51st State, because and every faction has a difficulty level, so you can pick an easier one or you can pick a more complex one. So I think Leo picked one of the hardest ones in the game, and he was doing all kinds of different things with his cards. He was storing resources on his cards, and I don't know what he was doing because he was figuring that out himself. But it's definitely, I think if you want to figure out the whole game and all the factions, there's going to be a lot to that to try to figure them out and do them well.
I think the complexity in 51st State is not in its in execution of how the game works. There is no figuring that out. It's in knowing how to make cards work together, right?
Yeah,
making those combos work.
Sure, get your engine running.
But you look at I think I would like the 51st State theme more. But you look at the art and you would think, oh, Empires of the North looks a little more family, kid oriented,
approachable, right?
Art,
yeah.
Or no?
As far as art goes, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But just solely based on art, you would think, 51st State's going to be more complex and harder to play, and it's more of a different theme, right? But that's not necessarily the case.
I don't think so. Very small sample size of one game, right?
Yeah.
But I would probably gear towards 51st State as more of an entry level. It doesn't feel like Empires of the North is as attacky, though. So maybe in that regard, it's better for families if they don't like attacking. But
less feel bad, maybe.
Yeah.
Less feel bad.
Yeah.
There's some expansions in there that get a little attacky.
In
51st State.
Yes.
Oh, for 51st State, yeah.
But we're
more
talking
to come on that.
Yeah, we're talking about Empires of the North.
Yeah. But it's good. I think it's worth playing. I mean, like I said, it's very familiar. So if you like 51st State or Imperial Settlers, then it's worth checking out, I think. It was fun. I had a good time with it.
Do you, Kevin, need both of them in your collection?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And I already have Imperial Settlers. Played that fairly recently, like this past year. that was an attacky game. Holy cow. It was like we were raising stuff like crazy, like even more than 51st State. But I think the fact that I have that one, which I think I'm going to keep, and then 51st State and all of the content, I don't need Empires of the North. I'll play Ben's copy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, while you were playing an Empire game, Tyler and I also got in an Empire game.
Yes, we got into an Empire game.
We
We
did.
were not playing an Empire game.
We were. Yeah, it felt like we were there, right? We played After the Empire. I've talked about this one. It's designed by Evan Halbert and Ryan Mauk, published by Grey Fox Games. This is a game in which you are taking on the role of an individual little empire. And it's a tower defense style game with a worker placement element where you're trying to prepare for the oncoming onslaught. And I use the onslaught word very deliberately here because I think there is a high amount of like attacky feeling going on in this game. And I've, like I said, I've played this before. I've talked about it. Kevin got to play with me about a year ago.
How was your experience, Kevin?
Well, tune in to episode whatever when I talk about it. It beats you down, at least in when we played. It beats everybody down equally.
Sometimes.
When we played, everybody was just getting destroyed.
Yeah.
So it was tough. It was a tough play.
I've met Evan Halbert, and he is a super nice dude. So Ryan must be the one that likes inflicting
the angry
pain and sorrow on people. This is a game. And it was my first play, so I'm going to throw that out there. I think this is a game that the first play can be very rough, and there was some miscommunication on some of the rules and stuff, and so that didn't help. I think this is a game that Paul Bettany's character from Angels and Demons, the Opus Dei character, would enjoy this game.
Self-inflicting pain kind of a thing.
Yeah. That was my first experience. I was very vocal and it was like being funny vocal though, like about how painful and frustrating it was.
Well, I don't know.
I had rounds where like I lost 2 or 3 towers in a row, and sometimes I was the only one losing them, either because I was the leader or that's just the direction that they came from, and nobody
your towers
else
happened to be on that side or whatever.
And so that didn't feel good to me. There are a couple. I think the game itself is a really good design. I think I would play this again. I would have fun playing it again. I think that first play is a little rough.
This for me, it's a game where I think it's a misery loves company kind of a game.
Oh, for sure.
And if you have a good group who is
vocal about their suffering,
they're like, "What is going on?" Right? Like
Yeah.
it's fun because I think there's a lot of table talk, and it's not usually the experience that Kevin described is kind of more what I've felt with it is that everybody is equally being.
Destroyed.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And so it's just more about how do I make the best of a bad situation, and I like that.
And going into it with your first play, it's hard to know like how much destruction is actually going to happen and how much of it doesn't really matter.
Well, and
Right.
because really you're trying to gain gold and have that at the end. And the interesting thing, Mark experienced this. We played with Mark and Glenn as well. Mark had the most pristine, beautiful looking.
It looked
Castle.
great.
Yeah.
I walked
Right?
over there and
Yeah.
looked at it.
It
I'm
was
like,
all stone,
all
all
stone,
beautiful.
all the
towers.
towers were up, and he was the lowest scoring person by the end of it. Now there is a factor in the game that the enemies are going to target more the person who has more wealth.
Yeah.
And so even if you're...
Which is cool.
It makes sense, right? And so while Mark hadn't been able to build up his structure until the end and was pretty pristine, like at the end, it limited the amount of attack that was being focused on him, and it was going more towards Glenn and Tyler. I was not doing well myself.
It
I was
is
in the
funny
middle.
to think about these invading armies coming up on a castle and checking it out and being like, oh, all these people are gaunt and they've got generic wooden walls and there's not a lot of money here. Let's go over there where the
Mark's
fortress
castle
is.
is beautiful. It's funny. I walked over just to check on your guys' game. I think we had finished up our game that we were playing, and I did notice Mark's castle. I'm like, well, that looks great. And I look over at Tyler. He gives the flip the table like motion.
I
He's
did.
like, oh my gosh.
I did.
It didn't actually flip the table, but yeah.
I made the motion,
the
signaling
motion.
to Kevin how I was feeling at the moment.
I thought it was interesting, though, that at the end of the day, Glenn ended up winning, and he won by a wide margin.
Yeah, he was taxing the crap out of his people.
He taxed everybody. And
he didn't have a big army. He was
hiring mercenaries.
What
Like
a
crazy.
jerk.
Yeah.
I was hoping he needed to get sacked in that last round, and it didn't.
And it
in
didn't
the last
happen.
season, and it didn't happen.
Well, and that's the other thing is there's some randomness in terms of what comes out, right? And when it comes out, and if it comes out in the right order and you're protected, it's great. But there are some times where leaders will be targeted extra in some rounds.
Yep.
And others not.
Oh,
and the one we wanted it to target in was that last round, but it didn't end up targeting
it hit me a
him.
couple rounds before that.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was wonderful.
You loved it.
But yeah, so that's what we ended up playing after the Empire, and I enjoyed the experience. I'm
enjoyed
glad
the
I got
experience
to play.
as well.
I think that it was a little bit grueling at certain points in the game for each of us, but I enjoyed the overall play.
Me too.
Nice.
I have something to look back on fondly and laugh about. I'm sure you guys could hear me in the other room, how vocal I was being.
Yeah, I heard some grumbles coming over. But, it was all good. All right, so after that, Tyson and I got to play of another trekking game, Trekking the National Parks. This is the 2nd edition. So this is published by Underdog Games. We've talked a lot about Underdog Games, Trekking the World, Trekking Through Time, other games that they have published. This is designed by Charlie Bink. Leo, this was Leo's copy. He brought it. It was a fun game. This is a very, very family weight game about the national parks.
Visiting the national parks, camping in the national parks, and seeing all the sights.
So the way the game works, there's a very large start space.
Yes. In the middle of Nebraska. Because apparently there's nothing there.
Yeah, there's no national parks there, I guess. I don't know. You don't want to visit anything there, but you start there. And then on your turn, similar to other games in this series, Trekking the World, I think, you're drafting cards, and these cards will allow you to move across the map. There are these little discs, like not cone things, but domes, I guess you could call them.
Stones is what I think they're referred to as.
Yeah, so you're going to collect stones, and this is the set collection element of the game. The most of a color of a stone that you collect, you're going to get points at the end of the game. And then these cards that you collect, they allow you to move, and then when you visit a national park, you can trade in those cards to actually get that card, and it's worth victory points at the end of the game.
They have different suits and different values on each card. The value is for how far you can move, and the suit is for fulfilling the contract requirements on the cards you're visiting in the national parks.
Yep, so multi-use. Then there's some national parks you can visit that you don't collect a card, but you can turn in these cards to put a camp there, put a tent there, and then you own that. You get 5 victory points at the end of the game, and then it gives you a special ability that you can use throughout the game. So you're moving around the board, you're collecting these stones, and whoever collects, well, when all the stones are gone, then the game ends. Or if somebody collects 5 of these national park cards, then the game ends. And you add up the score. Whoever has the most points at the end is the winner. Fun game. I liked it.
I did too. I think this is very similar to, and it reminds me a lot of Ticket to Ride and the way the game plays. There's cards you're collecting, and you're trying to collect them of a similar suit, usually to do different things, or a variety of suits to be able to do something. But the thing that I think is different is this is definitely a family weight game, but between the two, while I think Ticket to Ride can be mean in certain ways, the potential for meanness in trekking the national parks is high, because no two pieces can occupy the same location at the same time. So if somebody goes to a national park and you see that there's a contract to fulfill in that national park, but they didn't do it on their turn and they're just waiting for the next turn because they collected a card, you can go to that same space. And if you land on that space as somebody else, it knocks them all the way back to Nebraska. So like if they're in Alaska, they're going all the way back to Nebraska. And it's interesting to see how that works. And then on top of that, you can also not pass through a Meeple's
another player
location. So if there is only like the quickest, most efficient route to where you're trying to get is through that Meeple, you have to find a way around.
You got to go around. The good thing is it's fairly easy to get around the map.
Yes.
Right. So if you're in Florida, getting to Alaska may be 3 moves because along the bottom, there's these huge routes along the bottom. So yeah, but you're planning out your moves, right? So you say, I have a card that has 3 movement value. I've collected these other cards that I need to turn in for that national park. I need to be able to move 3. And somebody gets in your way, it can completely mess up your plans, right? So that's where the meanness comes in. Not only can you go back to the start space, but your plans can be ruined. Okay, I got to take cards this time instead of going there. People may know I'm going there already because I'm collecting that color. They can go, yoink that from me before I'm able to get it.
Well, it was interesting. I think it was Glacier National Park in Montana that...
beautiful place.
Oh, beautiful. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
But this was where I wanted to go. Leo had landed on Glacier, and so I had to spend a card to move there, and you only have 2 actions. So I moved to Glacier, kicked him off, and sent him back to Nebraska. And then I collected 1 more card, and now was able to fulfill it. But because I didn't have that card at the time, I had to pass my turn, and then Leo got another turn, and he did the exact same thing. He moved to that same park and kicked me off, and then he was able to score because he had collected it. So it was just, it's not... it can be mean, but it didn't feel bad in that kind of way because it's pretty easy, like you said, Kevin, to move around and get to most places you want to get to.
Meanwhile, I was just cruising around. You guys were just fighting amongst yourselves, and I was collecting national parks. And yeah, it's interesting. You talk about Ticket to Ride. I feel almost that the Ticket to Ride is more mean. Depending on the map you're playing,
I don't disagree.
And blocking routes and sticking people with huge amounts of points. But I see where that comparison comes,
but it's a subtle meanness in Ticket to Ride in some ways, right? Because it's I'm going to put this train in this location. Oh, I didn't know you were going for that. Like you can kind of feign that you're not doing it. In trekking the national parks, it's very overt that what you're doing is to get rid of that person.
I'm going to go to your space, and you're going to start. You're going to the start space. Yeah. So
it was a fun game.
It's a fun game. I don't know how much I'll go back to it, to be honest.
Agreed.
Is this one on Board Game Arena? Because some of the other ones are.
We'll have to check. I know Trekking the World is, but I'm not sure. It's worth having a game going on Board Game Arena. But
yeah, it's fun enough that it would be a good simple one on BGA if it were that I would have a game going at any time and enjoy it because it is fun. It's just usually our group is going to play heavier weight games. This might be one that my kids actually might enjoy pretty well.
My
I would play
kids
with them.
Love this, and like any Underdog game, the production value is great.
Yes,
and the cards, they're actually pictures of the national parks. I was looking at Rocky Mountain National Park, and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I loved the production of it. I thought it was great.
Yeah,
I think Trekking the World is the only one that's on BGA.
Got it.
But while you guys were trekking national parks, I was in space playing Space Base by John D. Clare and AEG. I played this with Ben, Glenn, and Greg. And if you've never played Space Base before, you have a row of 12 ships or ships that are laid out from 1 to 12. And this is a dice rolling tableau engine building game where someone rolls dice on their turn and everybody collects rewards for what was rolled. If it's my turn and I roll a 7, I'm going to either collect the reward that's on the 7 slot or the rewards that are on the 3 and 4 slot if I rolled a 3 and a 4, right? And then on my turn, I'm going to buy a new card from the market. And if I buy a new 7 card, it's going to go in my 7 slot, replacing my old one. My old one's going to be tipped upside down and slide under my board. And that's the red side. Anytime someone else rolls a 7 on their turn, I'm going to get the red rewards that are on the top of my board. So you're constantly adding cards to your row of ships, and as you replace them, you're making turns more likely for you to get rewards on other people's turns, right? So you're just trying to get to 40 points. You're increasing your production so that when you spend money, you don't always go back to 0. You will go back to your production level. So if you've gotten up to 15 production and you spend 30 money, you're only going to go down to 15, or you go down to 0 and then back up to 15. First one to 40 points wins. It was good to get to the table again. I haven't played it for a while on the table. I've played it a ton on Board Game Arena. It's a enjoyable game. It plays about the same time as Trekking.
This is one I was really hoping to get on the table on because it's one I've only played on Board Game Arena, and I've really enjoyed it there. But I wanted more of an experience and see it real time because most of my games I've played have been async games, and I think it works well and it's fun and it's fine. But some of the fun is that stuff is happening on your off turns, right? You're getting stuff from other people, and I like that experience. Yeah,
right.
yeah. If you're setting it up right, you're doing it right. You're hoping to get the stuff on their turns as well as your turns, and I really like that about this game.
I think about 85% of my turns I rolled 5 or lower, and those are the cheapest rewards to start. You get like 1 coin for the first 4, 1 through 4, and I just could not get my engine going. Other people had better luck on their turns. I obviously was getting rewards on other people's turns, but I could just not get any momentum at all. We were almost done with the game, and I had 0 points. I think I finished in the 20s.
That sounds like a theme for you.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I had a rough day yesterday.
Did you want to flip the table on this one too?
No, I was just ready for it to be done. But
yeah.
But I enjoy Space Base. I have one of the expansions. I haven't played that yet. It made me think of a conversation that's going on right now in our Discord that PA Rob started about expansions, and I'm like, going back now, would I buy that expansion now? I don't know, but I still need to try it. I think it's the Shy Pluto one, but that is Space Base.
So we've referenced this game already. We got a few plays in of 51st State. And we've talked about this game before. This game is fantastic. We threw in the Allies expansion. Oh, a quick update. I still suck at it.
That's not an update. That's not news.
Oh, that's not news.
Again, another game that we were like in the 4th round, and I had 0 points on the first round.
Yeah, you had a rough first game. I came in last on the second, but yeah.
Yeah, I scored 20 some odd points in the 4th and 5th round, but
You made it up.
I was at 0, and
Yeah.
I love this game. You guys both had this on your top 50 list.
Absolutely.
My number 2,
That we did a few episodes ago. I didn't have it on my list because I only had 1 play at that point, but now I've got more plays on Board Game Arena. I've got more plays on the table. I love this game. I'm terrible at it.
Yeah. I as well, which has been well documented on this podcast.
But it's so much fun to play.
It is, and that, like we've talked about before, the stories that come out of this game are just hilarious and fun, and the theme is great. It's a post-apocalyptic theme that really, I mean, I don't connect with it personally, but I think it's an interesting theme.
Yeah.
I think it's great. We threw in the Allies faction, which we hadn't played a lot with that before. I don't think you'd played it at all, Tyler. Tyson, I think we played it
one time.
One time before.
And I don't know that we fully maximized what it was doing, honestly, in that first play.
Probably not.
I still haven't in the second play either.
Yeah, but the good thing about playing back to back with an expansion is, the second time you play, you see the cards again and you understand the nuances.
Ingrained.
Yeah, a little bit better. But I thought it added some really interesting things, some really fun things. It made it easier to raise either cards from your hand or opponent's cards, which was kind of fun. I don't know. This game's
It made it more
fantastic.
attacky, for sure.
It did. It did.
Not to say that raising is not prevalent in any version of 51st State, but it did encourage you to be able to do stuff, and it made some opportunities that were kind of interesting, where normally I don't raise other people's action buildings, right? They're 5 defense building because it's very costly. This enabled me to get that, which was interesting because those buildings tend to have a lot better rewards.
Spoils, yeah.
Right? And so like
victory point machines.
Yeah, victory point, and it stops those victory point machine engines, which was more encouraging me to do that type of a thing. And I thought, oh, this is interesting.
Well, and everybody was doing that. I think Mark raised one of your features that allowed you to get victory points.
Crazy carry.
Yeah, correct. There you go. Crazy carry. You burned her to the ground. And that kind of disrupted your engine.
It absolutely did. Right? It slowed me down, because it was an engine that was like the central portion of the engine.
Yeah.
But it was generating me a lot of resources, the engine, but I couldn't do anything without that card to get points. And so by taking that card away, it removed the points. And I love that about the game, is that there are cards that are critical to an engine, And if you're paying attention around the table, you recognize what's going on for other people. And so you know it's a target as well. So there are a number of times that I'm sitting there biting my tongue, hoping nobody recognizes things or sees cards in the draft that are coming up that I'm like, I really want this. There was one that...
you're biting your tongue. I'm like, you're being really quiet. You don't want to draw attention to this card. And then I'm like, I looked over at your tableau and I'm like, yeah. We talked about this card in the last game. You want this card. You're like, dang it.
And so you hate drafting it. It was good for you, too. But
it was good for me, but it would have been even better for you.
Yeah.
Well, it was fun. There was a round where Mark and I both got negotiators. And Mark got his out quick, and it got destroyed immediately.
I murdered it,
I held on to mine as long as I possibly could in hopes that everybody spent all of their red contact tokens so that I could get it out and use it safely.
Yeah.
But I like that aspect of you. There are times where you're trying to outlast everybody else's resources, maybe not their turns, but turns that they use specific resources.
There is a delicate balance sometimes, too, because I had that same experience where I wanted to outlast everybody and make sure I had enough, but I needed everybody in the round still because I had a engine that gave me 2 points if I put a token on the card, and then the token I put on the card I would also have to give to somebody. But I didn't want to give resources to people when they could use them. I wanted to give it to them when they couldn't use it.
But everybody passed.
And I lost out on like 4 points, and I was like, I waited too late.
You want to use somebody's open production, but you wait.
Yes.
You have something else you really want to do, and then they pass, and then...
Or somebody else takes it, like you waited too long.
Right, yeah. It is funny. We had a little bit of a Clans of Caledonia moment a couple of times.
Yes, we did.
Where we had played Clans wrong for years, well, at least a year, and we had messed up a market rule and had always been playing incorrectly. And we had a couple things that came up yesterday during 51st State that we've been playing this wrong for a while.
But the weird thing
goods
is
and resources. I don't know when that we start playing that wrong. I really don't know.
That's what I was going to say. Is I don't think we've historically always played the things wrong that we played wrong. But there was a couple things that we just, for whatever reason, they were like, oh, this is how you play it this game, and it was
sleep deprivation. It was like a house rule just for that game, right? It's like, what were we thinking? I don't understand.
And there was a football game on later. Kevin and I started watching that, and we were like, hey, we should play 51st State on Board Game Arena while we're watching this.
Yeah.
And so we played and checked a couple things, make sure we're playing right.
Yeah, it reinforces the rules.
Yes.
Okay, I think we got all that right.
Yeah.
We're fine. We're fine.
And Kevin beat me.
I won.
Hey.
I am 0 in this game. I'm terrible at this game.
Yeah.
You've got a few wins under your belt.
I beat Tyson on BGA.
On BGA, you got me,
Yeah, and if you are a jerk, by the way, because you stole resources from me that probably would have given me the win.
Oh, you would have won that game if I hadn't stolen those resources from you. But
yeah, I'm not mad about that. Yeah,
it's a good game. I love
fantastic.
51st States. So glad we got 2 on the table plays of this.
Yeah, that was a
Cavern Con.
blast. Yeah.
Well, let's go into a game. We played a game.
Yeah, I
after
won
that.
and I didn't have fun.
You won. It's called Bargain Quest.
We could go on.
What else have you played, Tyson?
Oh, while you guys were playing Bargain Quest, I played a game that did go on and on and on. It's a game I love, but for whatever reason, we played about a 4-hour game of Distilled.
It's not the easiest game to teach. I mean, it is, but it takes time.
I think this was more a product of, this was right around dinner time that we started it. There was a couple of things. My kids ended up calling me. I chatted with them for a little bit. Glenn had to get ready to leave, and so we had to move the cars and adjust it so that he could get out when he was done. We had a couple of other interruptions. There was some physical illness kind of things going on at the table where people were feeling upset stomach from eating too much great lasagna that
Ben's
Ben
lasagna.
made.
We've talked about that.
Fantastic.
Yep, that's a tradition at Cabin Con.
But it was spicy lasagna, right? So like it has its kick. So I think there were a lot of factors that made this game go a long time, and I loved the game. And Mark picked this one, and we ended up teaching it and playing it. Leo this was his first play of it. Glenn had kind of played it on BGA once, so he had a basic understanding of it. Okay. But we played it with some of the expansion material that I hadn't played with yet, and which basically the stuff we played with, we didn't play with any of the the things that changed the rules or anything. We just played with the updated cards, which allowed certain things to do, like certain ingredients did different things, gave you more points for certain factors, or like you could have the glucose kind of card, which is a sugar that can count as a plant grain or fruit sugar, whichever one you want. So it made things a little bit different, and it was fun to see those kinds of changes in it. I'm actually thinking I enjoy it on BGA more now. Because kind of what you're saying, Tyler, the teach can be longer, and it can take longer turns depending on who's at the table, and if it's a new player kind of a thing. Yeah. I like the game. I happily play it on the table whenever. But I'm really glad it's on Board Game Arena, because I've been playing multiple games of that at a time and going back to back on that. And so I'm glad it's there. Hopefully the expansion content also gets on there at some point, because that would be really fun to explore that too.
Nice.
But yeah, that was Distilled.
We finished a football game.
We did.
And then everybody else went to bed. And I kind of half jokingly said, we should play something else, Kevin.
And I'm like, yeah, we should.
And so we played Next Station Paris.
Yeah.
Which we had just played on the couch.
During the football
game on BGA.
That's right, because you weren't as familiar with the rules.
Yeah.
So we went through a game digitally on BGA.
Yeah.
And I was
then
kind
we
of
solidified it.
How it worked, and then we got it out on the table.
Yeah, and it was awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And I lost again in both of those games. But I love the experience. I have played all three. I understood the rules a little better for the first two. But Paris, I think I agree with Kevin. I think that's your favorite one, right?
Yeah,
At least right now.
I love it. I think it does some really interesting things. I love the monuments, the Parisian monuments that you can go to that are a wild space. It just seems like in this version, you can do a little bit more and you have a little bit more freedom, which is always fun, right?
Well, and then when you add the module in that allows for the corner locations to have the powers,
yes,
that is hands down the best module in any Next Station game that I've played.
Yep.
And I love the modularity between the games, that you can add those modules to any of the existing ones. So like you can play it with whichever game you
pencil
want.
powers.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Really cool. And I love this. I was sad to find out that you guys, I went to bed because you guys were watching the football game, and I was not really all that interested in that game. So I took a shower and went and watched Arrested Development, and didn't know you guys were playing Next Station Paris. Otherwise, I would have joined in on that.
Yeah, we should. I didn't know you were up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen Matt the Rat here?
No
chance?
No. In fact, my bed is
Poop free?
pristine.
Poop free.
Poop free. I have no issues. I'm happy where I'm sleeping right now.
Nice.
By the way, have you taken your turn on BGA in our current Next Station Paris game?
I believe I have.
You have.
And I hate you for where you're at in it, because you somehow
so much hate.
Jumped up.
There's so many like angry.
It's because he's been having this friendly competition with me throughout this whole game. And
Next Station Paris, like we've been
back
neck
and
and
forth
neck
the whole game.
Well, we've got one more rolling right to talk about in a minute, but let's talk about the first game we got to the table this morning.
Let's do it.
Jokkmokk.
Jokkmokk. We've talked about this one.
This game's
recently.
awesome.
It is
I
fun.
love this game.
It is fantastic.
It's beautiful. The variability between the cards that you set up and play the game with. It's a rondel game where whoever's furthest back moves their customer, their person, whatever.
Yeah.
They have two of them on the board, but whoever is furthest back moves forward and takes the next card of their choice anywhere on the track. But the further ahead you move, the longer you have to wait to move that meeple again, right?
Yep.
And then the little skater cardboard guy advances, and you put out another card around the board. And so you're just going around in circles trying to collect the best cards to score points in different ways, right?
Super easy mechanic, right?
Yes.
But it makes for some interesting decisions. And there's always something that happens in the game that's funny, right?
Yeah.
Like we had the
Cue
queue in this last game where you get stuck in a line, right? And I felt bad for Glenn, or not Glenn, for Greg, because he got stuck.
I thought I was going to get stuck with him, but was it the sparklers?
Yeah.
He couldn't take the sparklers because of the rules of the sparklers.
Right.
And so he was forced to take them, saving me
That
from
happened
having to take them.
To me as well, with Greg. Both of us had the exact same experience where he had to take the cue card because the sparkler he was scoring too many points on the sparklers.
Yeah.
hilarious.
Well,
I love
and then, Kevin used the skater to take an extra card, so I had to take the next cue and negative
Yep.
points. And
Yeah.
I love this game.
It's great.
This is a great family weight game. I think it's fantastic. If you can find a copy of it, get this game. I don't know if it's readily available or not at this point, but it is awesome.
It's a WizKids game, so I imagine it's pretty available.
Yeah, it's WizKids, and it hasn't been too long since I picked it up, so I'm hoping it's available. I think it's definitely worth picking up.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And I was reading some forums on BGG, and they were asking about possible expansions, and if it's popular enough, they have expansions ready to go that they can throw in. And this game easily expanded.
It's
right?
ripe for it.
Yeah, easily expanded. So. I'm having a blast with the base game as it is because there's so much variability, but even more content would be fantastic.
Yeah, and it's beautiful, and it's just quick, and it's fun, and easy to teach. I love it. Checks all the boxes for me, and a good family weight game, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. It's a great one.
Then we got to Tyson's favorite.
Yeah. Wait. Let's
Another train
let's talk a little
rolling
bit
right.
more about Jokkmokk and how I did really well.
yeah.
You won
Tyson
that game.
destroyed
Did
it.
so well. Contrast that to the next game, which
You were collecting snowflakes like nobody's business.
I just want to highlight that I did well at a game so far today.
You did. Well, let's talk about the next one. How did you do on that one?
Yeah. I did about the same as I've always done about that in the last 50 games I've played this game.
So we played Railroad Inc. And we played the what is it?
Yellow one.
The Shining Yellow Edition. I backed Kickstarter when it came out, and I got all of the content. Right, it comes in this really cool box. So I was reading some rules this morning just to make sure I understood the expansions we were going to throw in. So we did the Shining Yellow Edition, and then the Cactus expansion, and then I threw in an engineering die as well, which allows you to do some different things. So Railroad Inc. It's a roll and write. You have a dry erase board in front of you. You have all these different. It's like a grid that you can build on. There's exit points around the board, and the whole goal of the game, or one of the main goals of the game, is you're trying to connect your network to all of these exit points, and you get bonuses for that. There's tons of different ways to score as well, but you're rolling these dice, and you're trying to figure out how to get this connection to work, and that's basically the gist of the game. If you can do that better than everybody else, you're going to score more points. If you struggle, then
You'll end up like me.
then it's a little bit harder, right? So
I was proud of how beautiful my map was. Yours was pristine.
I argue
yours was
that most of the
amazing.
time mine look really nice, and I think that's my problem with this game is that I focus way more on the aesthetics of what's going on than actual point scoring. So
it was beautiful. It really was.
but it didn't matter because it ended up that was like a Mark situation, right? After the Empire, Mark had a beautiful end game situation, and it doesn't score any points. So who cares about that?
Yeah.
I had, I think, 20 or 30 points less than the next closest player. And I was dead last.
Oh, that's funny. you had one pivotal spot though.
Yes,
if you connected that spot,
it would have made a big
it
difference.
would have made a huge difference.
Yeah, you would
right?
have been
I
right
still don't
there.
think I would have gotten close to winning, but it would have made a huge difference.
Maybe not made that big of a jump.
It might have made up the 30-point deficit that I had, but
We were a little sleep deprived, silly during the rules explanation because I don't think Ben and Greg had played this.
No,
and,
they hadn't. No.
that was kind of fun.
yeah.
That was fun.
Getting through the rules.
Yeah.
we need to
Well,
play the.
For everybody not
as
teaching.
fun for the person teaching the
How
rules,
was
which
that,
was
Kevin?
me. It's like, can you guys focus for 1 second here? Like everybody's
one
all
more thing. I just
Well,
got
and
one
then
more
there was
thing.
Everybody's-
French toast and bacon also interrupting.
Yeah, there was a lot of distractions.
Yeah, but it was fun.
I think we got through the rules fine. Ben didn't realize it was ending in 6 rounds, so I felt a little bit bad about that.
I did it.
But it's not.
He still killed me.
You knew all the rules perfectly.
Maybe we should give Tyson an extra round when we play.
Yeah,
We should.
That seems like it's going to make it worse.
Yeah, I think that would probably work a little bit better for you. I love this game. I love the variability in this game. There is so much to explore, and really the expansions you put in there change it up a ton. Right? I like it a lot. You mentioned we just talked about Next Station Paris, right?
Yeah.
You're in the Next Station Paris camp for
Oh,
sure.
for sure. I do infinitely better at Next Station anything than Railroad Inc.
Yeah, but they're kind of similar. I mean, flipping rights and rolling rights, they're doing a similar thing. I think both games are fantastic. You can't go wrong with either one.
Yeah.
But I'm a big fan of Railroad Inc. I'm glad we got to play it.
Yeah. Let's go play something else.
Let's do it.
All right.
Yeah. That was a weird way to end it, but yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it.
One eternity later.
So we ended up finishing up Cabin Con. We came home, and we're going to talk about the rest of our Cabin Con. But I wanted to say that when I got home, I felt a little bit of Cabin Con still happening at my home, because I went to bed the other night and pulled back the covers of my bed, and there was a ton of cookies.
Oh,
Cookie
dang it.
crumbs in my bed.
I thought it was going to be poop.
I thought it was going to be poop too.
It kind of looked like it because it was little chocolate marks, and my 3-year-old had apparently climbed into my bed area, decided to eat all his cookies. I don't know if he was just missing me and he wanted to stay in my part of the bed, and then he used my pillow as a napkin to wipe the chocolate off of his face. So that was fun, little reminder of Matt the Rat, but also
That is fun.
I had a
Nice.
fun reminder of how Cabin Con started for me. It started out with a flat tire the night before and trying to figure out how I was going to get down there.
Yeah.
And then I got home, went to go to work on Monday, and had another screw in a different tire and had to go to the tire shop. So
Yeah, definite C word for that car.
definitely
Cursed.
Yeah.
Cursed.
Cursed
Right,
for sure.
right.
Yeah.
Cursed for sure.
4 flat tires since I bought the car in June.
Oh my gosh.
And those tires are not easy to change.
No, but I am a lifelong Les Schwab customer. They have patched 4 of my tires and have not charged me a penny. I
Nice.
even went in the other day with the 4th one and was like, "Hey, can you guys rotate my tires? I was trying to find something that I could pay them for," and they're like, "Oh yeah, that'll be free." And I'm like, "No."
You come in there like, Tyler, he's back.
I know.
They're just so happy to see you.
Well, the guy's
Free work.
patched. It's the same kid that's patched it every single one. So I'm sure he like opened up the one that's been done twice and like, "Oh hey, there's my work from last time."
Right.
Yeah, I need to take them donuts or pizzas or something.
Something. Yeah. This kid deserves something.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was how my Cabin Con weekend was capped.
I have no reminders of Cabin Con.
No sliding off the road.
No. I hope that doesn't happen again. Yeah. Played a few games though. I came back from Cabin Con wanting to keep playing games. Like sometimes we come back and I'm like, I'm just done.
Yeah.
But I was still excited to play. I thought I would have been happy staying for another day, really.
I would have too. I came home the night before. Some of you stayed an extra day or extra morning for checkout. I've only played one game since I got home.
Me too.
I would
actually.
like to play more, but I've been swamped.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about it.
No, I had a similar feeling though to Kevin. I got home, and usually at the end of Cabin Con, I'm like, I could be done for a week or two and not even think about games. But I got home and I was like, you know what? I don't feel tired from playing games. I could play it. We should have a game night this week.
I was thinking
and I
about
was
that.
tempted, but
Yeah.
I didn't end up sending the message.
Yeah, I was busy doing some other stuff, but I was thinking about sending out a message saying, "Hey, you guys want to play on Thursday?" After getting back on Monday, but I figured probably pass that week. Yeah.
But let's talk about what the last games that we ended up playing at
Yeah, let's
Cabin
do it.
Con. Let's wrap up our plays of Cabin Con. So we were talking about Railroad Inc., and that was on Sunday morning, and then we recorded, and after recording, we started a game of Witch's Brew.
Not only did we play with Witch's Brew, we played with the expansion that gave us each magic powers
Very powerful
per
magic,
round.
Magic
yes.
powers, yes.
Some cool things that were going on there. I really like the expansion. We've played with it before at a big game night, but it was fun to get it back out. I don't know.
That was my first time playing with the expansion.
Yeah, me
I hadn't
too.
played at the big game night table. I don't think when you guys played that last time, I wasn't playing. I was at the other table, I think. But I ended up playing with that, and I really liked it, even though I felt like I didn't take advantage of it at all. I know that like Ben ended up getting some really powerful cards.
He
that,
did.
It's
and
a
that was
little OP.
convenient.
Little
Yeah.
OP.
Yeah.
There was one that lets you draw 7 cards instead of the normal 5. There's a mean one that makes everybody else only draw 4 or pick 4 cards to use for a round.
There's one that allows you. What Ben was doing was he got to say, "I am the whatever," but if somebody else decided
He
to
could
say it
Welch
later,
on it.
He could,
oh,
yeah.
never mind. I'm actually not.
So be it. So be it.
Yeah, so be it. It's
yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it was really convenient for him to have that one and get all the things he wanted.
Yeah.
So I liked it. I thought it was a fun expansion.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if I'd play with it every time. Do you think you would play with it every time, or
If everybody at the table's played Witch's Brew for sure.
then you're going to throw it in there for sure?
That's kind of what
Yeah,
I was
I think
thinking.
so.
It's
Yeah.
not too
Unless I got
overly
the-
complicated. You could play it with new players, but I think that
Yeah.
like
Unless I got to the point where I did feel like, okay, whoever gets these few cards the most is
gonna win it. Yeah.
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 If I get to that point, then no, I'm not going to play with it every time. But
And then you're probably playing Witch's Brew a lot.
Yeah.
yeah,
At
right.
that point.
Yeah, and
maybe you're tired of it anyway.
We play Witch's Brew like once every 6 months, I
Yeah.
think.
yeah. That's about the right amount, I think.
Yeah,
I love the game. I'm not going to get rid of it anytime soon.
Yeah.
For sure. I love it.
I love it. We've talked about it a bunch, so we don't really talk about how it plays, but
Yeah, and every time we play it, because I played it the least of everybody here, I think, and every time we've played it, it has been about 6 months between plays each time, for me at least, and I end up forgetting how to play, and so the first round or two, I'm like, oh yeah, this is the type of stuff that I'm supposed to do, and then by the end of it, I'm like, okay, I really understand it, and it almost makes me want to like play a game immediately after that, and sometimes we do. We didn't end up doing that this time at CavinCon, and that was fine, but I
was a
liked
little
it.
disappointed that Kevin didn't get thwarted by Glenn as many times as you
no.
did the last time we played.
I didn't play well, but it wasn't nearly as bad as the last time we played where I couldn't get anything going. So yeah, it did. Yeah,
I think I'm terrible at Witch's Brew.
I think I am too, but I have fun playing it every time.
Yeah, but the last time you said you were terrible at a game, you had a 25% win.
I
ratio
only
or
win
something. What a-
75% of the time. I'm so bad at this game. All right, so that's Witch's Brew.
Yeah. What did we play next, Tyson? Kevin went and took a shower.
And
Yeah, jerks. Go ahead. What did you play?
I didn't play it.
Rebel Princess.
You didn't play Rebel?
I didn't play that round of Rebel Princess.
You didn't? What were you doing?
Because you guys ended up playing.
Tyson, Trilord, Greg, Glenn, and Ben.
Well, I don't have it documented, so I don't believe it.
I'll send you the scores.
If it's not in the
Spoiler,
the
I
phone.
won with only 5 points.
I'm looking back, and I did play Rebel Princess twice, but there was one time that you guys played that I didn't end up playing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
It was a good 5-player game of Rebel Princess.
Yeah.
I love this game.
Yeah.
We already talked about it in this episode. Kevin missed out on it. Have you had a chance to play it yet?
So no, I have not. So I sent a message on Discord saying, you better bring Rebel Princess because I want to play this game.
Yeah.
You guys played it a few times before this. I go to take a shower. Literally 5 minutes. I come down and you guys have started Rebel Princess. So I was sitting around for like
the second time
40
that weekend.
I was sitting around for like 40 minutes until you guys finished up. I'm like, are you kidding me? You're playing this game?
Yeah. Let the record state Kevin just slid Rebel Princess over to me because I did leave it behind so you could have a chance to play it.
You did. Yes. I could have.
But it didn't happen.
But we did not play that. No.
I do like it a lot, though. Like
I
even
really
the
like
second time, there's just some really interesting things that are going on with it with the princesses, and like you said, we've already talked about this, but like, yeah, it is one that I'm glad we got to play multiple times, and I foresee us playing this one a lot more in the future, especially at like big game nights or just as a palate cleanser, kind of end the game night or something like that.
Yeah.
This is a good one.
Yeah, for sure. What did we play next?
This one I do remember, and I do have it documented. So it's Skyrise.
You do. You remember this one?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
yes.
Oh, Skyrise.
Skyrise, yes. I love Skyrise.
Yes.
Every time I play it, I like it even more. This was a particularly exciting game because it was so close, the end scores.
Yes.
Which was
Stupid
cool.
tiebreakers.
Yeah, like you made up so many points on like the
Color
color bonus or whatever. and Tyler and I ended up tying, and I stupid tiebreaker, by the way. Like whoever goes out first wins the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
I don't know. That seems
Not my favorite tiebreaker.
No.
But it was a great game.
But it was a great game. And then Tyson, you were like
I was
3 or
within-
4 points behind.
I was close behind it. And it was the whole game. I felt like it was competitive amongst all of us.
Right.
And I like that there are different strategies in this game, right?
Yeah.
Like I tend to like the strategy of the lettered discs
Right.
that have
Yeah,
like
you
specific
tend to go
scoring,
heavy on
right?
that.
Yeah.
And it usually pays off for me to get quite a few points from that. But I forgot to capitalize on the colors in like getting the right discs, and then I ended up getting too many colors for like the brown color, for example, and it diminished the total points that I got. So I got 4 discs instead of 3. If I had held on to the 3 discs, I would have won.
Yeah. But so this is the first time I ever got enough of one color, and I think it was brown, where I got 10 points for each disc. Like, and that can make up a lot of ground with that,
if you get 2 or 3 extra.
if you get
which
2 or
is hard
3
to
extra.
do, but-
Yeah. So that was cool.
And the sequence of when you want to go out in the second half of the game is so interesting because, like, you want to get all the places that you want, but you also don't want to leave somebody with the opportunity to go wherever
Just
they
free
want,
reign on the
right?
whole board, yeah.
And so that's super interesting. I ended up going out first in the second round, and I was like, oh, that was probably a bad idea because now you guys have the ability to choose wherever you want to go, and that was I like that about this game. It's really interesting.
Yeah,
That's
that's
great.
fantastic.
Yep.
In fact, it's so fantastic. We did a full feature review episode on it.
Yep.
Go ahead and check out our episode 61 if you're interested on our thoughts on Skyrise.
And we probably like it even more now than when we did the feature review. I know in my case, that's the case for me. So
I would agree.
I think so.
Yeah.
For sure. That was Skyrise.
yeah, another fantastic game after that, Clank Catacombs.
Oh, dude. This game
absolutely
was
loved
awesome.
it.
Really good game of
Yeah.
Clank Catacombs.
Yeah, with the expansion, we got that in there too.
And Greg joined us on this one. It was all 3 of us plus Greg, and this was Greg's first time playing Clank Catacombs.
And I don't think the expansion was too much.
No.
And the wonderful thing is that you can, as you reveal new tiles, you can then go over what the rules are for that. So there's a few things to add in at the start when you set up the game, but most of the new stuff is when it appears either in the market, the deck market, or the tiles that you flip over.
And Clank, as a system, in general, isn't overly complicated. It's pretty easy to get.
Pretty straightforward.
But I think that Clank Catacombs lends to that ease of understanding because of what you just said, Tyler. The ability to explain it as you go when something is revealed. This is how we interact with this part of the game or this system of the game. And I think that's really good. And with Greg having had the experience of playing different versions of Clank already, he had a clear understanding of what to do. But it was interesting because I think this one
Well, not all of us survived.
don't.
Hey, you had your donkey, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
So this is hilarious. Like, I could not get to an artifact. I was on a tile. It got rotated. I was about to get to a room that had an artifact. The tile got rotated.
Which is like one of the best parts of the game.
Yeah.
I think it's never not hilarious.
Yeah. And then I didn't have enough movement to move off the tile. Then it got rotated again.
Yep.
And then I moved on to the next tile, and that tile got rotated.
So you're like in the corner throwing up at this point because you're dizzy because the room's spinning.
Yeah.
You spent like 5 or 6 turns
Trying to get to
without
the
having
next tile.
moved very
Yes.
far at all.
Yeah, I couldn't draw movement. And then the lair tile from the expansion that has Medusa came up next to me, and there were like 3 or 4 times where I almost had the right combination of symbols on my cards.
Secret tomes you needed, right?
I needed a secret tome, I needed enough weapons, and I still needed movement to move in there, right? And I could not get it in time, and so I moved through her room, took damage, almost died, and got to this room that I couldn't exit because I would die going. It only had one exit. Grabbed the artifact in there, but I couldn't exit back into the Medusa room because that would kill me, and you can't take an action that will kill you. And meanwhile, everybody else has exited the dungeon.
No, I mean, there was some struggle getting out of the dungeon too, because I was the closest to getting out, and then somehow Kevin gets this ability that he can teleport to any other player, and so he teleports to my location.
Yeah. Best card ever.
And I was like, no, I was going to hopefully trap you in here. And then I ended up almost dying by Clank from the dragon a couple of times. Like, I was on the verge of death and right on the cusp of the not the depths, but the second tier of the dungeon where if you get out, you survive and you get
safe,
scored, right? Points. And so I was right there, and I was like, oh, I'm so worried. But able to make a couple of loop and get some of those monkey relics, and then
You swiped those monkey relics from me.
Well, you were trying to steal them from me, and I was like, oh, no, I got to make this loop twice.
Yeah. Luckily, while I was busy spinning around and not moving, I had the opportunity to buy a mechanical donkey that... when I died, carried my carcass out of the dungeon. So I didn't,
out of the depths.
Out of the depths. I didn't score 0. I actually put some points on the board with a big negative. But
and that
card was hilarious.
That donkey card was so funny.
It was awesome.
This game has this. It's a game that has moments, right?
Yeah.
That you remember, and that's what I love about it. I don't care if I win. I don't care if I lose.
I feel like every time I play, it's like the new best experience of it. Like, it just tells such a funny story in a different way, and it was a blast. I still had a chance to almost get out of there. I remember Tyson pulled my yellow cube out of the bag, finishing me off,
which was amazing because I had been pulling cubes for a while, and almost nobody's cube was coming out for a long time. And I was like, am I going to ever pull somebody's cube to kill them? Because I want to kill somebody, because I had already gotten out. And I'd gotten that 20 extra points, and I thought that was the only way that I was going to win. Because this game ended up being very close in score for everybody as well.
And for the top three, the donkey boy didn't do very well.
No, he was trailing by 30 points at that point.
But if you had gotten the Medusa into the Medusa lair, and you had even gotten out to the...
Well, and I had a backpack, so I could have got 2 artifacts. I don't know.
You were still in competition.
Yeah, could have been close.
If you could, even if you had died in the depths and had accomplished those things, you were still in competition, I think.
But it was within 8 points or 7 points?
Yeah,
so the other 3 of you.
The other 3 of us were within 7 points.
Yeah, which
is pretty
awesome.
close. Yeah.
No, this is a great game. Hands down, I think this is my favorite version of Clank. It's always a great experience. Love it.
Yeah, it's awesome. That was my last play of Cabin Con. I hopped in Mark's truck with Glenn, and we headed back so I could go to work the next day and get a flat tire.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And so no accidents on the way home. No slide outs, nothing adventurous.
No face plants, no sliding off the road, nothing of note.
Yeah. Which is good.
Yes.
We don't want those things when we're on the road.
Cabin Con that anything not kind of goofy happened at the end, right?
Yeah. We like it that way.
So what did you guys play the next morning or that night?
Yeah, Tyson, I stuck around, Ben and Greg. We got a play of Next Station Paris in. We've already talked about this one, so we don't need to talk about it again. Other than that, it's an amazing game.
Well, and Ben and Greg hadn't played it up to this point, and I think it was kind of interesting because Ben kind of had the experience with Next Station Paris that I have with Railroad Inc., I think, in that...
But he ended up winning.
I know, but like at first he was like, I don't get this game. I don't understand how it works. And he was making all the same complaints that I make about Railroad
that's what
Inc.
Ben does.
And then he pulls it out. And I was like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, but he ended up winning. Great game. Love it. Love that it's on BGA too.
Yeah.
I always have a game going. And then we got in 3 games
of one of our favorite Cabin Con traditions.
Yes. Llama. It was awesome again. Yeah,
this one might have one of the best moments of Cabin Con, I think. That at least we were playing. This was Greg's first time playing this game.
I love this. This is the best.
Greg had never played it before. We get through a round or two, and Greg goes, he looks at us, and he goes, there are no decisions in this game.
And Tyson and I just bust up laughing. We're like, yeah, I don't know what it is. It's still fun, but
we love it.
We love it. Yeah. So, but we had a great time playing.
Yeah,
that was
I think
funny.
Ben won a few times.
Ben
I
kept
won
winning
one.
this one too, and
Yeah.
I kept coming in dead last. Like I kept getting really horrible scores in this game, and it was fun to just kind of have a lighthearted, fun experience.
Later at night, it's a great game to play, right?
For
Because
sure.
you're not using any brain power at all. I still don't understand why this game is fun, but it is. So we had a good time playing. That was Llama.
Yeah.
After that, we capped off the night with the game of Parade.
And this one was like contrasting that from Llama, where it was just rambunctious fun. This one ended up being one of the most heads down, like silent games of Parade we've ever played.
Really?
Yeah, I think we were all just tired. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's
Well, and we ended up making the parade super, super long for like the longest time.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then the front of the parade had things like 10s and 9s and 8s all stacked up at the front. So it was an interesting experience with parade because you were trying to figure out how not to take the worst possible combination ever, which is common.
That's basically what Parade is,
but
right? Yeah.
But no, it was good.
And Ben won this one again. What the heck? He won almost everything that day.
Yeah. No, he did.
Yeah. But that was good times.
So did you guys play anything before checkout?
We did. So Greg and Ben left.
Greg had to get back for school or something, and so they left early in the morning. And
Okay.
And
So you guys were stuck with wrapping up the house?
yeah, it wasn't much. to
it
do,
wasn't.
though.
Yeah, we threw towels in the laundry, and that was about the extent of it.
Yeah, there wasn't much to do. But Ben left his copy of Dice Throne, so we got a play of that in, which was a lot of fun. I played with the gunslinger.
And I was Seraph.
As you
Yeah.
played Versus or you played Dice Throne Adventures? or-
Versus.
Nice.
Yeah, so we played the competitive version. I liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun. This game's great. I've played the Marvel version a few times. I liked it. What do you think of it?
So this was my first experience with Dice Throne, and for those who haven't played it, it's basically Yahtzee battle.
Battle
right?
Yahtzee, yeah.
Right, like
That's what it
you're
is.
attacking people
with
using
unique player powers.
Correct.
Yep.
And that is really interesting. It's fantastically set up, I think, in the box that you can pull out a character and then just set it up, and it's like kind of
And you're ready to go.
self-contained, right?
Yep.
Ready to go.
Shuffle a few cards, maybe?
Yeah, exactly. And then you can just go. And I really like the idea that like these cards allow you to power up your characters, right? And you are able to enhance them in different ways that makes it really interesting. I liked my character in particular had the ability to, at the start, has a bunch of basic dice combinations that I can invoke and utilize. But if I upgrade the cards and put them on the spots where those actions are on my player board, that it was unlocking additional attacks, so more possibilities with the dice, which I thought was really fun. I liked it a lot in that way. I'm not a huge fan of dice chuckers, like in general, like, and so this was fun. I really enjoyed the experience, but I also, I don't know that I can
take it or leave it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like I don't know that I would be the one to recommend playing this game, but I wouldn't be the one to turn it down either necessarily.
I love how thematic this game is, right? So I was the gunslinger. A lot of my stuff was, with my 6-shooter, right? I had reload tokens that I would get every round, so I could do an attack and then I could reload and do another attack. And it's just a lot of the things that you do, and they've done a really good job at making the things you do thematic to your player, which is cool.
And I was like
and
an
then the
angel
cards-
type of a person
Yeah.
that ended up having a blinding light because of my aura. And
You
it
would
kept
blind me.
blinding Kevin, and
Yeah.
that was kind of fun.
And it's cool, like the stories that unfold in this game. I think it does a really good job of that. I like how there's a unique deck for every player, right? And you have your own actions and things that you do. And you already mentioned upgrading your character, which is cool. I love that there is always the chance that you can get that ultimate ability, right? And if you do, neither of us got it, but if you do, it's like you're doing a lot of damage and
That's awesome.
you can't block it. So the chance of that makes it just exciting, and you can press your luck. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. But,
well, and I think
but
that's
it's
how
kinda
it ended,
right?
is that you ended up kind of pushing your luck to some extent at the
Yeah.
end, right?
Yes.
It was pretty much anybody's game right there in that last round. And
If I didn't win that round, you would have
I
won
would
the
have
next.
won the next, exactly. And so it was well set up. I thought that was good. I don't know if that's how it works out usually, or if there's any blowout type of scenarios, but that felt pretty good. That it felt like we were both in competition for the majority of the game, and I liked that.
Last time I played it with my wife, and we were within 1 point right at the end. Super exciting finish, and I think that happens fairly frequently. The one thing about this game is that the timing of things can be a little wonky. And no matter how many times I read the rules, I always have to go back and say, okay, when am I supposed to do this? And when is this allowed? I don't know. Maybe I just need to understand the rules better.
Yeah, because there was one that like you ended up having a dodge ability and like a counterattack or something that seemed like it was unclear of, do you get to dodge out of the way and do the counterattack, or do you get to, is the dodge the part of it that like stops all the counterattack? So it was kind of a weird order of operations, but we ended up
I think we got it right.
Right, I think
so.
And it was good, but there was a couple of moments where it was like, okay, let's make sure we understand how this unfolds.
What is the order here?
Yeah.
But I think it was fun. There has the Kickstarter ended? The current Kickstarter?
And I backed it.
I did not, because I feel like I have enough Dice Throne as it is.
So I backed it, and I added on Dice Throne Adventures to it. So it was a Dice Throne Adventures expansion, and then some outcasts, some new thematic characters. I actually made an offer to Ben to buy. I kind of want to acquire some of the more of the content, so I offered to buy like his season 1 and season 2 battle chests.
Oh, I got it at my house now. Do you want
Hey, there you go. I think he
Skip the middleman
I think he
here.
was gonna go for it, and then he said he'd check with Greg, and then I haven't heard anything since. So
we had
pretty sure
Yeah.
that Greg didn't want to sell it. But
Well, we had it set up.
That could be wrong.
As they were leaving, and I remember Ben looking at it and saying, we haven't played that for a while. That is pretty fun, you know? So maybe I had second thoughts on that. But I think my play of it kind of solidified for me that I wasn't going to back this one. Not that I don't like the game, but I think I have enough content that I'm happy with what I have, right?
And I could see that, because there's a lot of variety in any, like if you have
I got
3 or
Krampus
4,
and Santa,
right?
and I got a bunch of Marvel characters.
and that's who I've played as, is Krampus and Santa. I am excited about Dice Throne Adventures because my wife loves cooperative games, and it's a cooperative dungeon crawler, so I want to try it out.
Yeah, that is the thing. I do want to try that. Yeah, my family's big on cooperative games too. So
I actually am almost more interested in it as the cooperative.
What?
I feel like 2024 is the year of cooperative games
know.
for Tyson.
But only because I think that as a dice chucker, feeling like I'm pitted against the randomness of
Veiled
do I
Fate.
get stuff? No, not quite Veiled Fate, but like the randomness of do I get the results that I want in the dice chucking to make the attacks that I want to do against an opponent, and it feels bad when they get the right stuff, but you don't necessarily, just because of the roll of the dice, right? Mm-hmm. But if that's against a computer kind of a AI type of bot character that is just the board and you're collectively working together, that like
you can all commiserate together.
Right. Cthulhu Death May Die comes to mind here for me because hey,
Tyler's rolling crappy again.
Yeah. How can you be so terrible?
Yeah, right.
Because we can all commiserate together with that kind of experience.
Sure. No, I can see that.
I might change my pledge and buy Dice Throne Adventures outright beforehand because the Kickstarter's not going to fulfill for a year or so. So,
oh yeah,
I might just buy that ahead of time and play it
and get the extra content when it arrives.
Yeah. But I'm excited about it. I wish I could have been there to play this with you guys.
Yeah,
but
it was good times.
It was a good way to wrap up the end of the.
It was perfect timing too.
Yeah.
We ended about 5-10 minutes before we were supposed to check out.
Yep.
And we loaded up the car and we're on our way. So
last year it was Septima that Ben, Greg, and I were packing up last minute before we hit the road. But
yeah,
did you hit Whataburger on the way home?
No, I mean it was good, but I don't think I'd go out of my way to get it. But
But that Mark was like in his element.
Oh, Mark. It's like Norm walking into Cheers. It was Mark walking into Whataburger.
All of his Texas peeps.
Yeah. He just feels right at home at anything
was
Texas.
awesome.
It was cool. He was chatting it up with everybody.
So any lessons learned or any final thoughts on the overall CabinCon experience? Favorite moments? I don't know.
Like we were chatting before recording. I think this was my favorite CabinCon. There were very few games that I didn't enjoy. I think I liked almost everything I played. Right. Bargain Quest maybe not as much, but very few that I'm like I wouldn't play that again.
Yeah,
you know? I had a great time.
already burned that from my mind.
I feel like every previous CabinCon, there's come a moment where I've felt like drained or exhausted, right? Like by the end of a day or whatever, and I'm like, I just need to go to bed. I didn't really feel that this time. And usually when I felt like that in previous CabinCons, my fuse was a little bit shorter, and so I was more irritable, and I would have like a moment where I was snappy towards somebody or something. And I didn't have that, and I felt really good about having like just a good fun time.
I had a couple of experiences that I was a little snappy and a little cranky that second day. It was rough, but I had a blast. It was so much fun overall.
Yeah.
Most of my crankiness towards
After the Empire,
thank you, was just like sarcastic and... There was at one point where there was a little bit of a...
It felt like a little bit more tension, but like for me, I was still having a good time with it, and I didn't have a problem with it. And I felt like with that game in particular, it was more of a, this game is kind of like people are having a bad time with it, but like that is what it is.
Misery loves company.
And I like
Should
that
be the
about
subtext
it. I think that's fine.
Game. No, I had a blast. The second day, like I said, was a little rough, but I still had a blast the whole trip, and playing 51st State
that was so good
for some of the other experiences the second day. And, it was awesome. Clank Catacombs, that was the best. I mean, that was how I ended it for me. So that was the best experience. That was so much fun. And playing Skyrise with you guys before that was awesome.
Yeah, Sunday could have been my favorite day. That was just, Jokkmokk, Railroad Inc., Clank Catacombs,
Rebel
Skyrise.
Princess.
Rebel Princess. Oh, yeah, that just really capped off the day.
I didn't know you were going to take a 30-second shower.
I had games to play, right? I'm there to play the games.
Yeah.
The
food was amazing.
It was really good.
Food was good. Yeah, really good. So.
I do think I come home every year like, okay, next time I really don't want to play a 3+ hour game again. But
I didn't get into any of those, which I was very happy about.
And the only one I did with that was Distilled, but that was for, as we've already discussed, reasonable reasons. I think that it was longer.
There were some
than normal.
distractions and a teach and
all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, my longest game maybe Tiletum, maybe, and that wasn't even that long.
No, that wasn't terrible. Yeah.
No.
There was a rules review, and
I will say there was some discussion. And this is in the lessons learned category, right? There's some discussion about should we again try and figure out how to revamp our selection process of games to bring to CabinCon.
We brought too many games.
We did, but I felt like the experience for me was, even though I brought a bunch of games and they didn't get played, the vast majority of the games I did, I really thought going into it, these are games that I'm going to want to play, but in the moment, having the option to choose something else was good. And I liked having the option. Variety to choose from. And if I wanted to play it, it's there, but not worrying if I do get it played or not. And for me, that was the better experience. At the end of the day, I ended up deciding, you know what? I don't care what I play this time. I'm not going to even try and choose anything. I think Failed Fate was supposed to be my choice at that time. And I was like, you know what? I don't care. Let's just play whatever. And with that attitude, I didn't care what I ended up playing or not playing. And the one game that I did really choose was After the Empire. And so I've decided, you know what? Maybe I don't choose anymore so that
whatever.
Tyler doesn't try and kill me.
No, I felt the same a little bit too. I didn't feel like I cared as much choosing. I think I picked Skyrise. I think I picked Clank Catacombs and Tiletum. So I did pick a few games, but like I skipped over Nucleum because I knew it would be a longer teach and a longer play. And beyond, I don't know. I was just happy to play games. If we can get them in under 3 hours, that's my only requirement going forward.
Agreed.
Unless it's Voidfall or Anachrony.
Right. And we had Anachrony there. Didn't play it, which was fine.
Dude, I was packing up my games and I'm like, we're not going to play half of these. Why am I bringing these? But I couldn't take ones out of my boxes that like Glenn had picked or that Mark had picked, oh, I really wanted to play that, Tyler, like.
Well, it just didn't make the cut.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot. Sorry.
Thanks for the brisket, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Food was amazing. Yeah. Glenn brought cinnamon rolls
and chicken pot
pies.
Oh, yeah, that's really good.
Lasagna. Mark was making food all weekend.
Yeah. Like unexpectedly, he made extra dishes that were just like phenomenal.
I was planning on maybe going out and getting something on Sunday night, but he's like, no, I got this shrimp, whatever. I don't know what it was.
Gumbo.
It was like a gumbo type of thing, but it wasn't like traditional gumbo either.
With some cornbread and
yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's really good.
Some queso and guac and
that
queso was ridiculous.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
Yeah, it was good times. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Some, maybe next year.
Yeah.
At around the same time.
Yeah.
It definitely made me more excited for the next year, right? I like this tradition a lot. It going into it, actually, for me, I was a little bit, I don't know if I really want to go to Cabin Con this year. Like, I had some hesitance just because life and there was craziness, and I was like a little bit stressed with work and stuff like that. But ending up there, I was just like, there is no stress here. This is a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I'm eager to do it again.
Do we just open it up to whoever wants to go in the future? Go with like 14 people, or
we did expand it this year to have two 8 additional people.
We've always had 6 in the past,
and I liked expanding it and getting different plays from different and perspectives of different players. We didn't even talk about Leo set up the risk board, and we did that.
Yeah, that fizzled, but it was
it was a cool fun idea. I thought,
every time you'd win a game, you would take over a country on the risk board.
Yeah, there was a meta game going on essentially, and that was kind of fun. But
it went downhill for me on day 2.
Yeah, I was doing
day
really
1
well.
Went downhill for me. I started winning later in Cabin Con. If we would have kept it up, maybe I would have a resurgence. But I don't know.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, really good time.
Yeah. All right. So that was Cabin Con 2024.
Come back next year for Cabin Con 2025.
Actually, please come back before that, because that's a year away.
We hope you enjoyed listening to our Cabin Con experiences. Maybe that has inspired you to go to do a Cabin Con with your gaming group.
If you do a Cabin Con of sort or any kind of con experience, we'd love to hear what kinds of things you do so that we can apply them to ours, or is there something that we could do better with our local con experience, and maybe opening it up is the good idea, maybe having more meta games. What is it? We'd like to hear your thoughts on what
maybe a listener could join.
Game selection. Cool. How do you keep your games to a reasonable amount?
Right. But and what's the perfect amount of days for a Cabin Con?
We need one more day, I think, going forward.
3 days.
We did one more day.
4 days.
Did we?
We had one more day in the cabin, but we didn't end up. Everybody left, and it was just me and Kevin playing the extra time.
I thought this year was the same length as last year.
I feel like it was the same length as last year.
Well, maybe it's just because
everybody
you left early.
Yeah, you had enough of Matt the Rat. And
yeah, that's true. Thanks for listening.
Whee!
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Longest Turn Board Gaming Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and you want more Longest Turn in your life, please check us out on Instagram. Also, be sure to check us out on Board Game Geek, where you can join our guild, Guild 3947, and check out our blog, where we post all our show notes and occasionally post more detailed reviews. If that's not enough for you, we have a Discord server. If you want to play a game with us on Board Game Arena, join our Board Game Arena group, The Longest Turn. Until next time, thanks for listening.
Tot ziens.
Goodbye.
See you later.